All right. So in the previous class, we have started implementation of framework. So as part of that, we have created a folder structure, and then we have taken one test case, registration, and we have done some basic stuff, and we have created some page object classes and test case, and we have executed. And now today we'll go on to the next one, next step, adding logs to the test case. So first of all, we'll understand what is log and how many types of logs we can generate, and what is an advantage of generating the log messages. So we'll understand some basic stuff from the logs, and then we will see how we can generate the logs. So basically, what is a logging means? So we can record all the events in the form of text, which is called as simply logging process. Recording all the events in the form of text. So what does that mean? So suppose whenever you are executing your test cases, right? So your test case is doing some event. Suppose it is launching your application, it is logging and registration. So it is performing some actions on the application or some events. So we can log all of those events in the a text file in the form of text, and which is called as a logging process. And what is an advantage of getting the log file? What is an advantage of generating the log file? So normally there are two kinds of logs, application logs and automation logs. So application logs means what? When any user is performing some actions on the application, back in the backend side, the log files will be generated. So whatever actions are done by the user or customer on the application, every event will be logged into the log file at the backend side. But as a user, we cannot see what exactly logging it is, but it will internally logging each and everything. So the main advantage of using log file is, suppose in the real-time applications in the production, any user is doing some unauthorized activity, right? So in that particular case, they can easily track the information, and they can also do the immediate action, or they can take necessary steps, whichever is required. So they can block the account, or they can hold the account, something like this. So the basically log file will be used to track the information, right? Whichever user is doing whichever event or whichever action on the application, they can track everything into the log file. So they will maintain the log files at the backend, and they can generate every time, every second the log files will be generated, and there are specific team, they can analyze the log file, they can monitor the log, and it is also a kind of a security mechanism which is provided to the application. Okay, that is called log file. And when you come to the automation, so our automation project also we will maintain the log file. So because we can also log all the event from the application through the test case, whatever actions we are doing on the application. So every action we can log into the log file. But what is the benefit of log file in automation is, suppose tomorrow if any test case is got failed, that information is also part of the log file. So sometimes the developer will ask to provide the log file, because only depending on the UI and the steps you provided to the developer, they cannot analyze the defects. Sometimes the defects will reproducible in Q environment, but the same defects may not be reproduced in the dev environment. In those cases, the developer will ask you to provide the log file. So along with the defect information like test case steps, bug, then screenshots, you will provide everything, right? Similarly, you will also provide the log file, and developer can understand the log file and analyze the issue, and accordingly they can fix the bug. So that is the main advantage of using log files. So in automation also we can create our own log files. Okay, now these logs are different levels. There are different levels of log levels. What are the different log levels? So all trace, debug logs, info logs, warning logs, error logs, portal logs. So these are the different logs. 3, 4, 5, 6 types of logs. Okay, these are the 6 types of logs which you have. So trace, debug logs, info logs, warning, error, portal. Okay, so this all and off these are the options we can set in the log4j.xml configuration file. So that leave for now. So the main six types of logs are there. So trace, debug, info. These are called log levels. Okay, suppose if you set log level as a trace, then you will get all types of logs: trace, debug, info, warn, error, pattern, all types of log you will get. Suppose if you set log level is a debug, then you will get all the levels from the debug to lower levels. Okay, and suppose if you set log level is info, then you will get info logs along with warning, error, fatal. So lower level logs also you will get along with info. Similar, if you set log level is equal to warn, then you will get warn, error, fault. And if you set log level is equal to off, then you will not get any log messages. And if you set log level equal to all, then you will get all types of logs. So these are the options which we can set in the log file. So in the log configuration file. So whichever log level you set, from that particular level, all lower level logs will be generated in the log file. These are called log levels. Okay, so we understood what is login, what are the log levels, and where we have to set this log level. So there are two things we need to understand from the log: appenders and the loggers. Appenders means what and loggers means what? These are the terminologies we need to understand. Appender is nothing but appenders describes where exactly we want to generate the log file. So we can generate the log file, we can generate the logs in the form of file, or we can generate the log messages inside the console. So when I run the test, you will see some message in the console window, right? So we can generate the log messages inside the console window, or we can create a separate file and all the logs messages will be created inside the file. But which one we will prefer? We always prefer the file. Why? Because if you create a log messages inside the file, it is easily uh, download and we can easily share the file to the development. And this is available permanently. But when you generate the logs messages in the console window, and these logs are available only at the runtime, and we need to, as soon as you run the test, we need to copy all the logs manually from the console window. Then again, we have to paste it in the file and then we have to share it to the developer. This is a lengthy process. And these logs will not be available permanent. If you run the test case one more time, the old logs will be removed. So this is not preferable. Where you want to generate the logs, always we generate the logs in the file itself. So who will decide that where you want to generate the logs, either console or file? Appenders. There is something called appenders, and these appenders will decide where to generate the logs. Now, something we have called loggers. And what does a logger means? The loggers will decide what type of logs we have to generate, like in which level of logs we have to generate. That is decided by the loggers. So this is a basic understanding which we need to have. So now let us look at how we can generate the logs for our automation. So to generate the logs for our automation, only three steps. One is we need to have one configuration file, log4j2.xml. This is the main important file. In this file, we have to specify appenders and the loggers. Okay, that file contains the appenders and loggers. So where you want to generate the log files and what level of logs we want to generate. So that information you can specify inside the log4j2.xml file. This is a configuration file. Okay, and accordingly we have to update base class and account registration test. We need to add log messages because the same log messages will be logged into the log file. Now let me show you step by step. So if I go to their official website, what is this log4j? Just type Apache log4j2. So this is their official website, Apache log4j2. And this is also a third-party library which is developed by Apache Foundation, just like Apache POI we have, right, for Excel file. So similarly, this is also developed from Apache. So if I go back here, they will provide all the information how to. There are a lot of content is there. Even developers also will use the same concept for generating the application. So here the main important thing is we need to add a dependency in the pom.xml file. So by default, you won't get this. You need to add required dependencies in the pom.xml. So if you go back to the pom.xml, we already added two dependencies for log4j. If I look at here, yeah, these are the two dependencies which we added. And this is additional dependency. Sometimes if there is any jar is missing, we will add this. Otherwise, no need. Okay, so this is log4j core and log4j -API. So these are the two dependencies which we need to add. So let us see what is the current version of this log4j. I go back and see A1 repository and okay, so there are multiple versions are there. You can see alpha, beta, beta 1. So always you can try a stable version 2.23.1. So we have a little bit old one. So let us make this 2.23.1. You can also take this alpha version, but beta testing, don't try. This is still in a testing phase. Alpha version. Okay, sorry. Beta version you can take, but alpha version is still under testing. But we will take this one 2.23.1, which is a stable version. Okay, just try to update the version number, that is enough. So 2.23.1. 2.23.1. And here this is also same number. So 2.23.1. This is the latest version I'm keeping here. And 2.23.1. Okay. Okay, yeah, both we need. So log for core is required, API is also required. This is optional. So sometimes we'll get some exception. Then we'll add this. Okay, so anyway, I will share this pom.xml. You can get it from there. Okay, so I'll add this here in the chat box. You can get it. Okay, so once you added these dependencies, we will get a log4j2 dependencies. So library is ready. And once you've done, so you can just try to update the project once, go to Maven, then update. Okay, so once it is done, now the next step is we need a configuration file, which is most important. So log4j2.xml will control the everything, appenders, loggers, everything we have to configure only in the log4j2.xml. And this particular file, this is a resource file. So we need to keep that file under SRC test resources. So this is the under this, only here we have to keep, nowhere else. SRC test resources. So from where we will get log4j2.xml. If you go back to their official website, okay, you can find somewhere here, or else you can directly type, let's say log4j2.xml. So if you just type it here, it will directly go to log4j2 XML file. So they will give you sample templates, but these templates are not exactly accurate to your automation projects. We need to do some customization. Okay, so some people will use XML file log4j2.xml. Some people will use log4j2.property file also we can use, but most of the times we prefer XML file. Okay, so they provided some sample XML files templates in their website, but we need to configure according to our project. So I have already configured one file, configuration file. So I will share that file. You can use it in your automation. So I will place that particular file inside the SRC test resources. So let me get that particular file. So log4j2.xml. The file name should not be changed. Okay, the file name itself log4j2.xml, because this XML file will be loaded by log4j. So log4j will remember the file only with this name. So we should not change that. So let's open this XML file. So log4j to XML file. This is a XML file. Log4j to XML file. So let us try to understand something from this particular file. So we no need to create everything new just because this is just like a template, but we need to know a few things from this XML file. So mainly appenders and loggers. As I told before, appenders means what? It will decide where we have to generate the log, where we can generate the log files, either console or file. This is decided by the appenders, and loggers will decide what type of logs we can generate. Okay, and these two we can configure in the log4j2.xml file. So let us go what exactly it is. So you can see two main sections here. From here to here, this is called appender section. This is the loggers section. So appenders tag is started here, ending is here. Loggers started here, ending it is here. Okay. So these are two parts, appenders and the loggers. Now, what I said, appenders are decided where we can generate the logs, right? So if I go back here in the appenders, there are again two more entries. This is for console. This is for rolling file. So this is for console. This is for rolling file. And both entries must be there. But in loggers, we have to specify. Okay, so in the loggers, we have to specify the which level of log we have to generate, and appender reference we have to specify. So in appender, there are two references are there. One is console, other one is rolling file. Now in the appender reference, we have to specify file or console. So when you say file here, so then this appender reference will use this rolling file. Or when you say console here, then this appender reference will use the console option. Okay, by using this option, it will decide where you want to generate the logs from the appenders. So appenders will decide where we have to generate the logs, and loggers will decide what level of logs we want to generate. And in appenders, we have a console and rolling file, and which one we have to choose, that you can specify in the loggers section. In the logger section, appender reference tag is there. Here we can specify the reference, file or console. And if you want to generate in both console and file, then you can enable this statement. Appender reference equal to console, then appender reference equal to file. So both entries you can specify. And which level of logs you can generate, that you can specify in the level here. So here I mentioned all the levels, where you can specify all, or you can specify trace, or you can specify debug, info, warn, error. So whichever level of logs you want to generate, you can specify the log level here. Okay. And where the log file will be generated. So if it is a console, we know in the console box, all the logs will be generated. But where file will be created. So here we specify the path. So earlier we already created one folder called logs inside the project, right? So the same path is referred here. You can see in the properties section, name equal to base path dot slash logs means what? Dot slash is representing in the current project directory. Inside this logs folder. So in the logs folder, it will generate the logs. And same path, same base path, we are referring here also. File name equal to base path slash. Actually, here it is a variable declaration, and here we are using according to the XML. So here we are specifying the base path, and that base path slash the file name of file is automation log file is name is automation.log. Okay, because the file should have some name, right? So automation.log. And this log file we will generate with the timestamp, because every time it will generate same, all the entries will be logged in the one single log file. Okay, but if the log file size is got exceeded, it will maintain the old log file and it will automatically create a new log file. So for that reason, we have to create a timestamp also. So this is a timestamp dot log. So base path automation hyphen with the timestamp. This is a format, time format dot log. So this is a file name. Okay, this is the format. As I said, is a template which is provided by Apache POI. And if you're not understood this, you don't need to worry at all. So you need to just understand only this part, loggers part. So you can specify the level of log, and you can decide whether you want to generate logs in console or files. Most of the times we generate logs only in the file. So you can keep the file here, and here most of the times we generate the info logs only. Okay. Suppose if your test case is failing, like there are some underlying issues, if we are not able to figure out them, then sometimes developer will ask debug logs. In that case, you can put this as a debug and then you can execute. So the debug is log level, which will capture all the transaction between the application and your backend system. All throughout the network, whatever requests are sending to the server, everything will be captured from the debug. So in the debug level log, we cannot understand most of the times. So developers can understand. But info logs we can understand, because whatever messages we write in the test cases, the same messages will be displayed in the log file. So info logs, by default, you can put info. And if anytime developer is asked for debug log, then you can put this as debug and run your test cases. Then it will generate the debug log. Okay, so this is a process. Yes, so the base path is basically a variable. Okay, so there we specify /logs. / is a current location, and logs is a folder name which we specified. So the log files will be generated inside the logs folder. Okay, so which type of loggers level generate? So by default we will generate info. So when I say info, it will automatically capture warn, error, fatal messages. And trace and debug is very detailed level of logs. Means what? They will also capture the transactions between client and the server. In between whatever transportation is happening, all the client requests will be captured. That is very detailed log, so that we can understand. We cannot understand that log. First of all, only developers can understand. They can analyze the log. And when I put info, so these logs we can easily understand, because these are the log messages we write our own in our test cases. Okay, so by default it will be file, and if developer asks, then you can put a debug log and they can execute. Okay, so this is a template file. So you don't need to do any changes in this. Just try to blindly use this file as it is in your automation. Just keep this file as it is in your automation and you can use it. This is just a template configuration file, as I said, right? The configuration file, this template also provided by Apache POI log4j2. So accordingly, we use the same kind of a template. So the main part is this one, loggers. Inside this, we can specify log level and appender reference. Appender reference can be file or appender reference can be console, or we can specify both. But console logs, not useful much, but file logs we have to always generate. So this is the basic understanding of log4j2.xml file. This is a configuration file. So this base path is not a keyword actually. You can put anything. You can put any name, but the same name we have to refer here and here. Okay. The same variable name we can specify here and here. So in XML, if you want to create in a variable, we use something called property tag. This is all XML related language. Okay. So you don't need to understand all these things, but simply we can understand this part. If you still want to change this name, you can change it. No problem. All right. So this is all about XML file. So Apache website I have not directly copied. After copying, I have done my own customization. So you cannot find exact file in the Apache POI website. So they provided them some files you can see here. So this is the appender section. This is the loggers section. And here they provided appender reference. So this is simple one configuration file. Almost the same 80-90% of the file is same, but I have done some more modifications, few modifications, just file name, path, and so on. Otherwise, almost everything is same. So this is the one I guess I copied. Okay, so I will provide this template anyway. You can use this in your future projects also. Wherever you want to work with log4j2, you can use this template. Okay. So this particular log file will have only your automation logs, and application logs will be captured only in the debug mode. So when you enable the debug mode, which will by default capture all the applications, either trace or debug all. So these three levels will capture all application logs along with the automation logs. And when you put info or warn or error, so these logs will capture only only your automation logs. Okay. All right. So now this is the template. So which we have to use. I will share this template. You can use it for your all your automation projects. Same template. It is very suitable for our automation testing. All right. So now first step, we have put this log4j2.xml file under SRC test resources. Now we need to just update our base class, because we just keeping the XML file will not create a log files. So we have to write some piece of code which will generate the log file. Okay, we need to do some configuration. So how we can update the base class? So let's go to the base class. Why base class? Why we need to update the base class? Because the base class we need to write piece of code which will load our log4j2.xml file. We just kept the file here, but no one is using this file as of now, right? We need to write some piece of code that will load the XML file first, that will read the configuration from the XML file. So where we have to write that code in the base class itself. Why it is a base class? Because this is a common class which is required for every test case. So we want to generate the log for all the test cases or not? Yes, for every test case, we need a logs. So that is a common activity. Generation of logs is a common activity. So the configuration step should be part of the setup method. Okay, base class setup method, because this is a reusable class. Okay, so let me try to update the base class under the setup. Just so setup method, in the setup method, we have to load the base class. Okay, so how to load this base class? So how to load this log4j2.xml file inside the base class? So we need a variable here, logger. There is a predefined classes. Because we already added Apache logger dependencies, we will get the special classes. The first thing is we need to create one variable public logger object. So logger, we need to import from proper package. So there are so many packages you can see here. You need to import the right package. So this should be imported from org.apache.logging.log4j.core. This is a package. Okay, so just import this. And you can see this. This is the package. I'll put separately so that you can understand. So this is the package. So this logger class, we have to import from this apache.logging.log4j.core.logger. So let me see, is there any other package? Okay, sorry, not this. This is the one. Core logger. Okay, I think everything is same. All right, so let's keep this package for now. So first, the first thing. So this is the new package we have to import it for logger. So this is a step we need to add for log4j. This is for log4j step. Now, in the base class, in the setup method, we have to use this variable logger. So before creating the driver, here I'll add some piece of code. Logger equal to, there is a predefined class called log manager. So from the log manager, we have a method called getLogger. And in this, we have to specify the class name. So from which class we want to generate the logs, right? So, but here, there is no specific class name here, because we can run multiple classes, right? So at the runtime, dynamically, it should take the class name. Whichever test case class we are running, that class name, it should take it dynamically. So here we dynamically get the class name by using this keyword, because this is always representing the class, right? So this dot get the class, this is a method. So this particular method will get the class name, and for that particular class, it will get the logger and store it into the variable. So this variable we have to use to generate the logs for every test case. So put the semicolon. So this also we need to type logger to logger. Just a second. I think 1 second, guys. I think this is not the right one to import. Just a second. Okay. So these are the two packages, guys. Remember. So by mistake, if you import any other package, it won't work. Remember this, or else just copy paste from here. So log4j. This is also for log4j import. So these are the two special imports we required for log4j. Because there are so many classes are there, so many packages, so you will be confused at the time of importing. So you need to carefully do it. So logger equal to log manager dot get logger, and here we specify the class. Dynamically, we are getting the name. Okay, so this one, so don't do anything now, just listen. Okay, I don't write anything in the chat box. So I think you're doing parallelly, so don't do that. So listen first. So we pass the class here, and log manage. This is a statement which we have to use to load the log4j2.xml file. So this will automatically get the log file j2.xml file, because it will also always fetch in the resources folder. There's a default path which is already configured in the log4j2.xml. So log4j2.xml file will automatically get it into the variable. Okay. So log manager dot get logger, this dot get class. And this logger variable we have to use to generate the logs. So whatever the logs you want to generate the log file, you need to decide. So this is a log4j configuration done. So now third step is we need to go to the test case and we need to add all our log statements. So whichever log statements we want to add, you can just simply add. So directly go to the test case. So the last class we already created. Go to the test case. Now, if I look at this base class, we already created this logger variable, right? So we can refer this variable and generate the logs. So how to generate the logs? So each and every event we can log into the test case. Every event we can log into the test case. Okay. So let me modify a few things here. So for example, here I'm starting my test, right? So here I will log one message to the log file. How can we log? By using logger variable. Can we access logger variable? Yes, right? Because from the base class we are getting, right? Yeah, logger dot info. So in the logger, you can find multiple methods. You can see here, you can find info method. You can find debug method. You can find trace. Okay, how many log levels we have? Those many type of methods we have here. So we already discussed some log levels, right? So debug, trace, info, warning, error, fatal. So for these levels, the different methods are there. So those methods we can access from the logger. So for example, here, I just want to log a information message. Then I can say logger.info. Logger.info. So here I can pass some string. Let's say I'm starting. So what is the test case ID? This is the test case. So starting test case. Because this message will be displayed in the log file. Okay, this says by seeing the message, we will understand this test case is started. Okay, and same message we can repeat everywhere. Suppose, for example, here I'm launching my home page and clicking on my account and then clicking on the register, right? So you can write another message here, logger.info, and here you can write some other message. So you can just remove here. So whatever message you want, you can write. So normally we will write a comments, right? So all those comments you can include here. So here we clicked on my account link. So same thing. After clicking on register, write one more message. Clicked on register link. And after that, so here we are providing all the information, right? So here you can pass one more. Here you can pass one more logger message so that we can say providing customer details, providing customer details. And after providing all the details, and here we are doing the validation. Okay, so here we are doing the validation. So here you can put one more logger message, logger.info, validating expected message. This is another log file. Okay, you can put whichever format you want to write, you can write that as a simple message. Okay, so it should be more easily understand everyone. So simple language, and whatever you want to put, you can. Okay, for example, if a session is got failed, then I want to log error message in the log file, right? So then what you can do is you can put this. So whole thing, suppose in this is whole test case, right? So in this test case, suppose if any step is got failed because of element not visible or because of message or whatever, somehow if the test is got failed, you will get an exception, right? So what you will do, put everything in the try catch block. So from here, everything you keep inside the try catch block. And from here to here, everything. Because tomorrow, if any exception comes in any steps, it will automatically handle. So here you will write a catch. And whatever type of exception, commonly will get an exception. And in the exception block, I will write an error. Okay, suppose if there is any failure happened in this, we need to log error log, not info, right? We write in only info logs. But if something is got failed, catch block will handle, catch block will execute. Here we need to write an error log. Okay, so what we can do here is we can simply say logger dot error. We need to take error. Logger dot error. And inside this, we can pass a message. What is a message? Test failed. Okay. And if the test is got failed, and if you want to log debug level logs we require. So that only by specifying the debug option in XML is not enough. Okay. If you specify debug here, that itself is not enough. In our test case also, we need to write a debug message log. I can say logger dot. One error message I'm logging and one debug message also I'm logging. So test failed. And here I'm writing debug logs. It will capture all the debug level logs. And if the catch block is executed means what? Our test is got failed. So also I'm writing one assertion, assert dot failed. Okay, so even this is also fine. So here we said assert dot assert equals. Okay, suppose if assertion is also got failed, it will throw exception, right? So in the catch block, we will fail the test. We are logging the debug level logs, and also we are logging the error level logs. And rest of the times we log only information logs. If everything is smoothly going, we can just pass info logs. Okay, that's it. So wherever you want to log that particular statement in the log file, you can put one info log level. So this is also most important at the time of writing the test case. So fortal is a completely blocked. Okay, if a test itself is blocked, we can also log fortal. You can also put logger.debug or logger.fail or logger.fortal. So whichever levels we have, we can specify. So fortal. Okay, and if you put fortal, okay, then level in the XML file, you will not get any other logs. So most of the times we prefer only two guys, either debug or info. In the general time, we use only info so that it will automatically capture all the logs, rest of the lower level logs. But if you need detailed level of logs, then we specify debug. That will capture debug and rest of the lower level logs. And if you don't want to generate any logs, then you can simply make it off. In the XML file, we can simply make it is off. So in the XML file, you can specify all here or you can specify off. Off means even though if you return all the log messages in the test case, still those messages will not be logged into the log file. So according to your requirement, you can do that. Even trace is also required. Trace is also just like a debug. It is also giving more detailed level of logs. This is more higher than debug. So debug will give you detailed level logs, but trace is also gives still more detailed logs, which we cannot understand first of all. Okay, so whatever requests are sending to the server through the network, all the requests will be captured by tracing area. All means every log will be generated. So not only specifying the log level here, but in the test case also we specify the relevant methods. Then only it will capture. Yes, if you specify info, rest of them will be logged automatically. Okay, because rest of them comes under the info only, right? Info logs will capture warning, error, fatal. So these logs will automatically capture. But debug log will not be captured if you put info level in the XML file. You need to put debug in the XML file. Then only the debug log will be captured. Otherwise, this will not be captured. Okay. All right. So we put all the log messages. Same process we have to follow in every test case. So this is one-time configuration. So we added XML file. And in the base class, we have added the code. This is for log4j2 code. Log4j2 code. Okay. That's it. This is only one state. So from tomorrow, if you add any new test case, just you can make sure add all the log messages also wherever it is required. And once the test is completed, I will add one more last thing here. This is finished. All right. So finished so and so test case. Okay. So this is how we can do it. So remember this import statement so that you will have so many import. Here we don't need to import anything in the test case. Only in the base class we need to import. Okay. Anyway, I'll put them in the notepad so you can get them from there. Anyway, I'm sharing the scripts, right? So you can just go through them or else I can put in the chat box. So remember, don't import wrong import statements. Okay. These are the import statements we need for the login. All right. So only 3 steps case, very simple to do it. We added log4j XML file in the resources. We updated base class and we already have only one test case currently. So we added all the log statements to the current test. So suppose tomorrow if you added a new test case, at the time of adding the test case itself, you can parallelly add the log files, log statements. Okay. Now let us run and see whether it is generating the logs or not. So currently in the log4j XML file, I put info message so that I will get only information logs. So let us go and execute our test case. Close everything. So far we have not created XML file, so I'm just directly running my test. So we're expecting the log file should be created under the logs folder. All right. Run as test-ng test. Okay, still executing. No. The every test case won't have a separate file. same log4j.xml file we have to refer. We already referred in the base class, right? So that is applicable for all the test cases by default. So you don't need to do any other configuration for another new test case. So when you create a new test case, just add only log messages, logger.info, logger.debug, logger.in. That's it. So you don't need to touch the configuration. So log4j.xml we already added, and that file is already loaded in the base class. So both have already done. So that is applicable for all the test cases. You don't need to do any other stuff. Okay, let me run one more time. Right. What's failing? Okay. You can see one log file is already generated in the previous run. You can see here. Yeah, because we put the debug, right? So on failure, the debug is also got executed. So that is the reason we are getting all these messages. And once the log file is got filled, so this is a log file which is got filled. So these are all debug method we put inside the test. Okay, so something wrong in this. Let me check it. Just a second. Yeah, debug and info, you will get all this stuff by default. Depends upon what type of log you specified. So currently I specified info and file size also you can specify here. 5000 I specified as of now. If the 5000 is exceeded, then it will create another file. Okay, everything is good. Okay, base class. Okay, so we'll try some other URL of the application. I think my URL is not properly working. Guys, I shared another URL, right? Can you just try to ping me that URL? We'll try this another URL. Yes. Yeah, I'll try this one. Okay. So my test is got passed. Let's go and see the logs. So refresh your logs. So once you refresh, you can see because why two files are got generated because we specify the size of the file here called 5000. Okay, if the file size is exceeded, then it will take the backup and then it will automatically create a new file. Okay, so if you look at the backup file, so it is by default generated test.ng. These are the messages. And where is our information messages? Here it is. You can see. So starting our registration test case. So these are messages created by our log4j.xml, and from here we need to consider. So you can see by seeing the log, you can see actual which test case is got executed and what time it is got executed. Time is also specified. And these are the logs which we have written. So this is a log message. Clicked on my account, clicked on register link, providing customer details, validating message, and finished. That means test case is successfully executed. And these are the messages captured from client and server communications. All the messages are captured because we put the debug somewhere. So if you try to remove this debug, let's go to the test. Let's remove this. And every time when you run the test case, new messages will be appended to the existing log. So let's go to the latest one here, only one single statement. Okay, so let's delete these two and run the test one more time. Yeah, if you increase the file size, only single file will be generated. Okay, now it is executed very faster. Now refresh. It is generated one more time. So it is captured only information logs, because debug error we put in the catch block, right? So if the test case fails, then the debug and error logs will be captured. So have you seen any error log here? No, right? Any debug or error? No, only information messages we can see. Okay, let us try to fail the test case intentionally, and then we will see what it will do. So here I will pass some invalid message. If you want to, in every run, it will not create a new log actually, because in the real environment, we will run multiple group of test cases, right, together. So all the logs will be generated in one single file. If the file size is got exceeded, then automatically it will create another file. That will keep the file. And suppose if you run one more time, then in the same file, the new stuff will be added. Okay, so let us try to increase the file name, file size. Let's go back to the XML. And here I'll put one more 0, 50,000. And go back XML file. Now this time I'm intentionally fail the test case and we'll see whether this debug error log will execute or not. So I'll put 2 more columns so that my test will definitely fail. Okay, done. Now can go back to the logs, refresh. Now you can see there is only one single file is got generated because we have given a huge size. So in the single file itself, which is got created, what happened? So my test is got failed here, right? Yeah, my test is got failed. Now this time we should able to see the error log. Try to refresh once. So starting the test case, click on the My Account registration link, provide a customer details, validating expected message. So after that, it is not executed anything. So let us cross check once again. So error, debug, and which level we put here? Error and debug we put, right? So error means when I put info, error also we will capture, but debug we cannot capture because we put info here. So let us try to put debug and execute. Yes, if you want to keep old stuff, yes, obviously that will keep all the files and old data also. See, I have run one more time in the same log file, the entries will be generated. See, these are the previous entries and these are the new entries. So after validate expected message, catch block is not properly handling. Let me try to change it. So error log should execute actually. Okay. So we'll do one thing. So we'll put one if condition. Okay. If this confirmation message dot equals this one, because sometimes we are using assertion, right? So directly assertion cannot log the information. So I'll put this. So created. So then what I should do is here I will write an assertion. Assert dot assert true. We're expecting true. I'm also passing. Else. Okay. Else I can say assert dot assert true is false. Okay. Now I'll put this inside the else block. Okay. So in the catch block, I put only assert dot fail. If any exception comes, catch block will execute and fail the test. And if exception is not comes, then else block will obviously will execute. So here I will put error log and debug log. Anything is fine. So ultimately we are using the assertion directly. Right. So let's execute and see now. So in that case, this assertion is not needed because we are already comparing it here and put the assertion. So this assertion is not needed. Okay. So let's delete the file. Okay. So I put some debug. Execute. Okay. Just a second. So we failed the test case intentionally by giving an incorrect title, incorrect message, right? It is got failed. Let's go back and see logs. Okay, now you can see here, you will get a error log as well as a debug log. So because we put the debug, right? So error debug in the same else block. So you got it here. So validating expected message and test failed and debug loss. When you put this in the catch block, it is not executed because the catch block itself is not executed. So the after the session, rest of the statements will not be executed, right? So that is a problem we got earlier. So we put this assertion, its assertion failed. Rest of the statements are not executed because it is a hard assertion. So we can put if else condition inside this, you can use assertion like this instead of keeping one single statement. Now, if we get any exception, obviously the catch block will execute and this will fail the test. And really, if that test is got failed because of titles or not matching properly, then if else condition will take care of it. Okay, so this is how we can simply generate the logs. And we cannot understand all these methods, all these statements, so that these are all the network related commands. So when I do some action on the UI, it will hit to the server, and between there are so many methods will be called. So all these methods are called here. They are triggered automatically. So this is a one-time setup, creating log for j2.xml file, and then update base class and go to the test case and add all the messages whichever you want. So this is a continuous process. For all the test cases, we do the same process. Means we no need to update XML file. We no need to change the base class. Only the test case. When I write a new test case, we just add the logger messages. And once this file is filled with the limit size is got exceeded, then automatically it will create another file with the timestamp so that we can also maintain the history. Okay. Suppose if you want to generate the logs in the console window, here I want to generate, simply go to the log for generated XML file. And here instead of reference file, you can put the console. You can put both also in the console and file, but execution will become very, very slow. We enable the logs. I just comment this one. So this time the logs will not be generated in the file. So the logs will be generated only in the console window. Okay. So old logs will automatically captured into the log file. That's the reason I given the left size here. So then what happens? The suppose earlier already run, right? So I already captured the logs here. So if you do one more round of execution, these logs will not be deleted. Still there is there because with the timestamp it will stored. So at the end of this log file, the new log statements will be keep on adding. It will just basically appending the new logs. It is not replacing or it is not deleting. Until unless we deleted the file, the log files will not be deleted. So old logs in the sense, these are the entries of the old logs. I will keep these entries. Again, one more time I will run and then we'll see. Because I put the console, right? So I can make again file. Now just observe, this time I reduce the file size, but the new logs will be keep on adding to the file. So go here and let us make the test case fast one more time. So old log is there. So this is the old log. Now again, I'm running the test one more time. So the statements will keep adding to the log. Yeah. So now again, if you refresh the logs, yeah. So old logs will be you can find in this backup file. So you can see the timestamp also. 7:39. If you go back to here, 7:39. It's not much difference. So old logs also will be maintained in the multiple files. So this is one important stuff we need to have. So this is most important whenever you are trying to find the bugs in your application. So developer will ask the log file. So simply execute all your automation test cases. You can have 10, 20 test cases and you can get all the messages in the log file. And one more advantage of log file is you will know exactly what are the test cases are passed, what are the test cases are failed, and why it is got failed, where it is failed. So you can easily identify that information. Okay, so whichever step is got failed, you can easily identify that. Yes, the old file will be renamed with the timestamp and taking the backup here. This is the old file and this is the latest file. Suppose if you run automation one more time, this file will be filled. Then what happens? This file again take the backup with the timestamp and another automation log file will be generated. Okay, so let me run one more time. So currently I have a two files, right? Automation log is always the latest file and rest of them are the old files. You can see with the timestamp. So I'm running one more time. Okay, done. So if you refresh the logs once again, I think second file still exists. So this file still not filled. So only three statements have got filled. So if you run multiple times, once the sizes got exceeded, it will keep creating multiple files here. So old logs you can see in the timestamp files, you can see timestamp. And the latest logs, recent runs, you can see in the latest file, automation.log. Okay, this is simple logging mechanism. We can simply add to the project. Okay, so everybody's clear on this. Only three steps. So time zone and all, we need to again configure this XML file. So whichever time zone you are running the test, that time zone will be automatically captured. So here I specify the timestamp, right? So in whichever time zone you are executing, on the same time zone, the logs will be captured. This is the default actually, okay? Right. So this is the logs for J stuff. So we just added XML file, we updated base class, and then we have done account registration test. We have added some log messages and we have created. That's it. and you need to give the names properly. So log4j.xml file should not be changed. The file name should be same. If you change this file name, it cannot create the logs. Okay. So if you don't want to create any logs, simply you can make this as a off. Okay. So if you make it is off, so then it will not generate any logs. Done. So now let's move on to the next step. So logging is done in the framework. So tomorrow, if you add a new test case, you don't need to do again these steps. Just you need to add log message to the test case. That is enough. Now third step, how to run the test on desired browser or cross browser or parallel testing. So this is another most important concept. In the test ng, we already learned, right? Cross browser testing, parallel testing, same thing we will try to implement in the framework. Right. So now we need to first create a new testng.xml file and which contains the test cases, and we will pass browser name and also operating system OS name. These two parameters we are going to pass to the test cases from the XML file. We need to parameterize. As of now, we are running only one operating system. But suppose tomorrow, if you want to run your test case on the grid environment, we will also pass browser name along with the operating system. So for now, let me take both the parameter, but I will use only one browser name. Okay. And after that, we need to update base class, and then we will create a separate XML file to run the test cases parallelly. So let us do step by step. So first we need to create XML file and where we want to pass name and operating system as a parameters. Let's go and do that. Third step. So where to create an XML file inside the project, we can create an XML file. Okay. So I will take this test cases package because all the test cases, whatever is there in the test cases should be part of the XML file. So I'm directly going to create automated generation XML file, go to testng, convert to testng. So this is my testng file, which I'm creating, click on the finish. Yes. So now I got a testng file created. So here you can see only currently one test case we have is specified. So now we need to pass parameters, browser name, and then we have to pass operating system. So both we need to pass. Okay, so let me. So we will maintain the two different XML files. One is for running master suite, another is for parallel testing. Okay. So what I will do is I will name this as a master.xml. Can just save this first. So I'll name it as a master.xml. Right. So now we want to pass two parameters, operating system and browser name. So how we can pass parameters? Before starting the classes tag, we add parameter tag, right? Parameter name equal to OS means operating system, and the value is equal to, as of now, I'm passing Windows. When I'm using grid concept, then I'll try to pass another operating system. So for now, I'm just passing Windows. And then another one. This is a parameter closing tag. Okay. What is missing? Let me save the file. Okay. So let me add two parameters. One is parameter space name equal to OS operating system, and the value is equal to Windows. And then we have to close this. This is one parameter. And then we have to create another parameter. This is browser name. I can say browser. And the value is, for now I'm passing one single browser. Later, if you want, you can change. I can pass Chrome. Okay. So what's went wrong? Test. classes, classes tag is closed. Test tag is also closed. Everything is fine, right? We are getting the error here. Let me just check it. So before starting the classes, keep these two parameters. Okay, done. So we are passing two parameters. One is operating system, another one is browser. So what is the next step? We need to receive those two parameters. We need to receive where we have to receive these parameters, where we have to receive, in which method we have to receive these two parameters, in the base class setup method. Why? Because setup method is responsible for launching the browsers. So setup method should receive the browser. So in this setup method, we have to receive those parameters. So how we can receive them? Just by adding parameters tag. So in the last classes, we already seen. So along with this before class, let me add parameters. And we are passing two parameters. So in the curly brace, we specify two parameters. One is OS, same name we have to give. Second is browser. Two parameters we are passing. And these parameters tag also annotation we have to import from test engine.annotations. Now for these two parameters, we need to specify two variables, string OS, comma string browser. I can say BR. Now based on this information, we have to launch particular browser and particular operating system. So this operating system variable I will try to use later. For now, I'm using this browser. So whichever browser name we are getting from XML file, so that particular browser we have to launch. So this particular step we have to modify. Okay. So before launching the browser here, based on the condition, we have to launch particular browser. So this statement we need to modify according to the browser. Rest of the statement still same, right? So I'll write one switch case statement here. Switch browser, and this browser name, sometimes we pass capital letters, lowercase, missed case characters, right, from XML file. So whatever characters we are passing, I'm converting into lowercase characters, everything into lowercase. So there will not be any conflict in that case. So if the br.to lowercase, that means here we need to write multiple case. If br value or case value, if case br value is equal to Chrome, for example. So then what I should do? I should execute this statement and then break. Right? Suppose case browser name is equal to Firefox or browser name equal to Edge. Then driver should be what? New Edge browser. So new Edge driver. So all the conditions we have to specify here and then break. And suppose case browser equal to Firefox. Browser equal to Firefox. So then driver equal to new Firefox driver and then break. Suppose we pass invalid browser name other than these three. Then default is what? I can print something here, system.out.println, invalid browser name. I can print this some message and then simply I can say return. Return. Why there is a return here? So normally in the default block, we don't put a break, right? Because after default, there is no other statements. So return means this will totally exit from the execution. Because if the browser itself is invalid, we no need to continue the further stuff, right? So we no need to execute all the test cases, nothing. So here itself, we are exiting from the entire execution part. So the return method will do that. So if we don't put return, then what will happen? Even though it is invalid browser name, still it is trying to execute the rest of the stuff. So we don't need that, right? So the return should be there. So if the browser equal to Chrome, then launching the Chrome browser. If it is the Edge, then launching the Edge driver. And if it is the Firefox, then launching the Firefox. If it is invalid browser, the default will execute. We are saying invalid browser name and return. Return means it will exit from the execution automatically. So this particular switch case block will decide which browser we have to launch based on the parameter we passed. And once the browser is decided, then rest of the statement will execute on the same driver. Whichever driver is initiated in this, on the same driver, rest of the statements will get executed. So this is how we can pass parameter from XML file to setup method at the runtime. Okay. So can we execute this test case directly now? Can we execute the test case directly from here? No, because this time the test case is depending on the XML file. So from the XML file, we have to pass the parameters, right? That is OS and browser. So currently operating system, this variable I'm not using. So once I use grid concept, then I will try to make use of this OS also. Currently I'm using BR. Okay, done. So now go back to XML file and then execute. So I'm passing Chrome browser initially, so it is executing on the Chrome browser. Fine. So let me pass another browser, go to XML file. So here instead of Chrome, I'm passing Firefox. Then execute. So Firefox, don't try, okay, because it is very, very slow always. It takes a lot of time. Yeah. So now my Firefox is got launched. Now it is doing everything. Perfectly fine, right? Whichever browser name I'm passing, it is launching that particular browser and doing the action. So similarly, you can pass Edge, Chrome, whatever. So we can make this XML as a master suite. Means what? We can add more number of test cases here later, and all the test cases will execute whichever browser you want here. Okay, this is one. Suppose sometimes we want to do parallel testing. I want to execute all the test cases on multiple browsers parallelly. That is a specific requirement. You don't run them every time you don't run parallelly. Okay, every time you don't run parallel. Only one round of testing, we do parallel execution, only one round of testing. That too, after completion of all the test cases, and you will run all the test cases in multiple browsers in one shot. So we do parallel testing only one time, that too specific requirement. So we should not disturb this master suite. Let's keep this open. Now what we need to do is we will create another XML file where we will try to achieve the parallel testing. So what I can do is I can take the same XML file, copy and make another copy of XML file. Okay, and let's name it as a cross browser testing. Okay, cross browser testing.xml. Cross browser and also parallel, both we can achieve this. So in this, okay, so try to give a lowercase characters cross browser testing. Okay. So in this, if you want to achieve the cross browser testing, then how we can do that? Suppose I want to execute this in multiple browsers parallelly. So what I can do is I can create multiple entries, right? So I can create multiple entries. So let me show you how we can create it. So this is from test to one entry, right? So I will take another entry. I'll take another entry, 3 entries, because I have a 3 browsers. I'm taking 3 entries. Okay, and suite level, you can put thread count. Suite level, keep the thread count equal to 5 is fine, default. And you can remove this thread count for test, not need. Okay, no need of this thread count for test if you put that in the suite level. Right, so when you put multiple entries, there should be different names. So this is for what? This test is created for what? Chrome. So here the test name I said is Chrome test. And this test is got created for Edge. So here I can put name equal to Edge test. And here third entry, I can put Firefox. And here the name is Firefox test like this. So when I execute this XML file, serial execution will happen, right? One after another. First execute in Chrome, then execute in Edge, and then it will execute on the Firefox. Let's execute serially first. Run as test-ng test. This is the same concept earlier we already discussed. Again, it is repeating. So Chrome is done. Now Edge is started. And after that, Firefox will start. So don't try Firefox. It is very, very slow. Okay, now it is started. Perfect. So Firefox is also successfully executed. So serial execution we have achieved. Now we want to make it as parallel. So to make parallel, what you can do in the suite level, we can add one property called parallel equal to tests. Parallel equal to tests. So this will make parallel execution. So let's execute and see. Run as test-ng test. See, this is one browser, this is another browser, this is another browser. So totally 3 browsers launched parallelly and execution is happening. See, all three tests are got executed and passed. Yes, all parallel testing, all browsers logs will be logged into the log file by default. So some execution is happening, immediately logs will be created. So what is the thread count? The last classes I already explained this. What is a thread count means? So because we are running multiple tests, so we need to accommodate multiple memory locations. So when I say thread count 5 locations will be created, and each location, each test will be executed. So this will be helpful if you want to run multiple test cases parallelly. So for that reason, we put thread count. So don't increase the thread count more than 5 because it will again become unstable. So 2 to 5 is enough, more than. If you have more 50, 100 test cases, more than 50, more than 100 test cases, 5 is required. And if you have only less number of test cases, or let's say you have 3, 4, 5 test cases, thread count 2 is enough. Can necessarily don't allocate more memory to the less number of test cases. Right? So we are achieved the cross-browser testing also. So whenever you want to execute your test cases, multiple browsers, you have to use this XML file. So this is the next step. So let's go and read the steps once again. So we created an XML file to run the test cases and parameterize browser name and OS to the base class setup method. And then we have updated base class setup method by adding switch case condition, and switch case condition will decide which browser we need to launch. And then we'll maintain a separate XML to run multiple browsers parallel. So these are the steps. So all XML files we should be creating at the project level itself. We should not create in any other packages. Okay, the XML files are the project level because it will deal with all the test cases, every file. So XML files should be part of project level, not in the package level. Okay, fine. So these are the steps. Now let us move on to the next one. Very easy. Reading common values from config.properties file. So earlier we have already seen what is the use of config.properties file, why we need to go with properties file. Common data. Suppose if any test case, all the test cases require some common data, common variables. For example, URL of the application, login details, customer IDs. So these are all commonly required for all the test cases, and those values are always same. So instead of writing those values in every test case, hard-coded values, we will specify them in the properties file, and we will use those values in multiple test cases, right? That is an advantage of creating the properties file. So earlier I already explained this in detail. So one more time, I'm going through this. Just try to understand this. What is a use of property file? So let us say I have multiple test cases, TC1, TC2, TC3, and so on. In every TC, we have some common variables are required, like URL, username, password. So every test case is required. So instead of writing these in every test case, we will create a separate property file, and here we will write all the values, key and value pairs. And this, from this particular file, we will read the data in every test case. Okay, this is the usage of property file. So let us create a separate configure property file where we will create all the common variables. Okay, so where we have to keep this configure properties file? Again, under the same resources, because this is also resources file. So config.properties file we need to create. Let's go and create config.property. So go to resources and creating a new file, and the name is config.properties. Okay. So in the config.properties, I will put some common variables. So which are required for all the test cases. Okay, so I'll put some variables here, and properties file will follow key and value pairs, right? So in the last classes, we already discussed. So I put app URL, application URL, email address, password, and some product name. So these variables we will use in the further test cases, login test case, search product. So we'll create some more test cases. That time I will try to use these variables. For now, I put some app URL. So whichever URL you want to put, you can keep this. So as of now, I've used this particular URL. Okay, if you want both, you can keep. This is also an app URL. You can make it as app URL 1. This is app URL 2. App URL 2. Okay, keep both. Whichever URL you want, you can use it. So this email password, search product name, I will use these variables later. So whatever variables are commonly required in multiple test cases, you can keep all the variables here inside the configure properties file. So this is the first step. Then we have to load this file and read the values from these variables. So that step we have to do inside the base class setup method itself, because setup method will execute first before all methods, right? So the configure properties file also we have to load at the beginning stage. So here I will write some piece of code for loading configuration file. Loading config.properties file. Sorry. So loading config.properties file. So for that, we need to write a piece of code. So how to load config.properties file? In the last classes, we already seen. So we have to use a special class. So what is a class? Here I will put public properties class. Okay, properties P. I'm taking some variable called P. So we need to create a properties class variable. So by using this P, I can load properties values and properties file and get the file. So here I'm writing some piece of code. So I'm using a special class. You can use file input stream or file reader, whatever class you want. So I'm using file reader class. This is also another class which is there to read the file. File reader, file equal to new. You can use file input stream also, no problem. So file reader. And here we have to specify where exactly your configuration file is present. So where exactly it is present? Under SRC test resources config.properties. So that is the location, right? So here I can say dot slash slash. Dot slash slash is representing current project location. In the current project directory, SRC test resources. I can say SRC slash test slash under resources. The file name is what? Config.properties file. Config.properties. So you need to specify this. So file reader class we have to import. This is alternative class for file input stream. This will throw exception, just add it. So we are getting the file into a variable. So this variable is representing the property file. So now we need to load this file. How to load it? First, we create an object of the properties class P equal to new properties. And inside this P, we have a one method called load. And we have to pass a file. P.load of file. So this command will load the property file. So once it is loaded, by using this P, we can capture the data from the properties file. So now if I go back and see, as of now, we are hard coded these URLs, right? So instead of this, I want to get it from the property file. So what we should do now? So simply driver.get, instead of hard coding this data, I'll get it from the properties file. So we already loaded this file by using P here. So P is representing the property file. So now we can simply say P dot get property of, and which property you want to capture, app URL 1 or app URL 2. Currently I'm using app URL 2. That variable I can specify. So whichever variable you specify here in the double quotes, that value will be captured and will be launched by this get method. So here reading value or reading browser reading URL from properties file. Okay, like this. Tomorrow, if you want to capture any other values from properties file, simply use this command p.get property of username, p.get property of password, p.get property of customer URL, like this. So whichever properties you specified in the properties file, you can get everything by using p.get property. Okay, so now we have replaced the hard-coded values by reading the data from the properties file. As of now, we have only this variable. So later, once we added more test cases, we will keep adding more number of variables in the properties file. Very simple step. So what we have done is we just added config.properties file in the SRC test resources. Then we have updated base class setup method to load the properties file. And then we have captured the hard-coded values, test cases like username, password, URL, and so on. Okay. So this is how simple 3 steps. So wherever the values we want to use, we can just get them into from the properties file. So 3 steps done. So let's go and execute the test case one more time. Close properties file, close base class, directly go to XML file. I'll again go to master.xml file and then execute. So this time the URL will be taken from the properties file. Perfect. So now it is URL is reading from the properties. Okay, done. So this is a step-by-step process of implementing the framework. So far, 4 items we have covered. First time we have added a base test case. Then we have added logging mechanism to the framework. Then we have added cross-browser and parallel testing to the framework. Then also we have added config.properties file. Okay, so few things we have added to the framework by taking one single test case. So tomorrow we'll take one more test case, login test case, and then we will try to do some more stuff. Like we will try to add some more page object classes. So one more test case we will try to add, then we can execute. And after that, I will show you how we can do the data-driven test case, how we can add data-driven test case, and then how we can add a grouping part in the framework, and then how we can add extend report. So this is a step-by-step process of developing the framework. So at the time of practicing also, you do the same order. So don't jump here and there. First, don't do cross-browser and then don't do this log4j. So whichever sequence I mentioned here, if you go to the same sequence, if you follow the same sequence, you will not have any confusion. Everything will be fine. And one more thing, until unless one step is successfully completed, then don't go for the next step. If it is successfully completed, then only go with the next step. If it is not completed, then identify the issues, solve it. Okay, make sure it is working fine, and then go to the next step. Don't club all the steps in one single shot. Okay, so this is a way you can implement the framework. So if you go to this step-by-step process, there will not be any confusion. So I will upload all the files in the step-by-step. Even folders I will upload. For adding logs to test case, I will upload one folder. For running test cases on desired browser, I will add another folder. And folder wise upload in the Google Drive. Okay, you can get it from there. And also I will upload this document today. You can get it there. All right. So let us stop here for today's session. Just complete these steps, second, third, and fourth. I hope most of them have already completed step number 1. So tomorrow
you complete this one, second, third, and fourth, and then we'll proceed with the fifth step. Okay. That's it for today's session. I will stop. I have taken a lot. And tomorrow we will continue.